Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, great. So yeah, first we will see. So let me close this one. I was preparing another video for the GitHub thing. So I'll just show you. So this is the basic screen, the Neoload screen, and here I have the latest version, the 9.2. And the first part is anytime you guys, if you want to like try it in your home or something, so you can download the trial version and you can get a license, a very basic license kind of, which will give you like around 10 users of web to test, 5 for SAP users. So you can try those very basic licensing thing. And so once you open the new load, so here you can get to connect your new project. So this is something completely into your local machine. So anything that you create, you can have it in your local machine. Okay. So local in the sense like, yeah, I mean, currently we know we all integrate our projects into the repositories like the GitHub or into the Azure DevOps, or we normally migrate it to the repositories. For this now, this currently, which I'm going to show you now, is into your local machine. Okay. So the first one, let's save that tutorial one. Just finish, and this screen will pop up. And here, so we have lots of options here. So we have file menu, we have edit, share. So share is something completely related with your repository. So if you are doing it on your local, so you might not need your share. And then you have your start. So here you have in the record options, you have start your web recording. You can do your SAP, you can do your Citrix and Real Browser. So apart from that, I missed another point. So when you come to your license management here, so when you click on more details, you can see what are all the protocols that Neoload supports. So for example, you can see here, Neoload, the very basic license, it actually supports your SOAP. We all know that SOAP is a kind of a web request protocol. We have GWT, the Google Web Toolkit. We have Java serialization. So these are some of the very basic, or I would say that when it comes to very basics, we can actually do a recording for your web, your SAP, your Citrix. So these are the very most protocols that Neoload supports. But when it comes to the other tools, something like Load Runner, we all know it has almost 30 to 40 protocols that it supports. But here, Neoload supports very basic of these few protocols. And coming back to the recording here, so this is something. So we under recording, we have all these options, and then under run. So once you complete your recording, you can run this script and we can see how does it work. And there are like 3 options basically. We can start playing the test, or we can do a debugging, so that where we can debug the scripts which we created. And then we have option to check our script, which is basically the validation. And then under the flag, the tools we can flag the request which we might use for correlation. So in case if you haven't come across the correlation, you can see, I could see chat. Okay. Okay. So coming back here, so we have, okay, under help, we have all the other options where we can connect. We can see what is the version of Neoload which we have for this Neoload, and then there are other options we have. So for now, let me show the very first basic recording which we can do with Neoload. So here, this is the button we have. We can start recording, or even we can use this record menu. We can start the web recording, or else we can even use this start recording option here under the creation method. So I'm clicking on this. And this is the name of the script which we are going to give. So for example, if this is something related to a search of an item, so we can give the name as search item, something like this. And so we have other two, we have, as I told you previously, so we have 4 options where we have web, we have SAP GUI, we have Citrix, and the real browser. So now we will see with web. And there are again 2 options where we can start the client using any of these browsers. So in case if your client wants you to test your application in one particular browser, so you can record with that, and you can emulate that with different versions of browser in your population. So I'll show that to you later. So for now, in this video, we'll see only about the recording. Okay. So I'm just choosing the Microsoft Edge, and I'm deleting the cookies and clearing cache. So this is again a best practice, which I would recommend you to follow, because by doing this, you will not have any of your cache or cookies when you record your script. So this will in fact create a clear script. And then coming back to advanced here. So in case if you want to do it in a tunnel mode, you can do it in a tunnel mode. And for now, we will do it in a proxy mode. So tunnel mode, you will require it for a different set of protocols, which I will tell you in our next video. So for now, we'll choose only the proxy mode. And in case if you want to select the protocol to be HTTP2, you can select it. And if it supports or if it requires Adobe, you can select this. But for now, we do not need any of them. And let me go back to the general, and I'm clicking on OK. So now in this screen here, okay, so let me just close it. Let me keep the browser here close. So let me just open it again and start recording. New recording of search item, clicking OK. So anytime when you start the recording, you will get these two windows. So this is something which we all know. When we are recording for load runner, we get a similar kind of screen, right? So this is something just exactly similar to what we have in the load runner. So same options we have. So in the middle, if you want to stop, or if you want to pause the recording, we can do the pausing of the recording. Or in case if you want to stop the recording, so anyways, at the end of the recording, we will stop it. So we'll use this recording at the end. And again, here we have options of recording in which folder do we really want to record. So in case if I want to leave, or if I want to just record my sign out in the last transaction or at the end part, so I can store that there, and all the other transactions I can keep it inside the actions folder. So for now, let's try that way. So I'm keeping the actions folders where I will start my recording. And here you have other options where in case if I want to go to the next transaction, I can click this option. And if I want to do any pre-fill, I can select this folder. So something like this, you can select the pre-fill. If I give this automatically, this will be pre-filled. And this is the one which we call as rendezvous, which is a very common topic which every low performance tester will know, because we have this similar rendezvous point, which we all know about how or what does it do in the performance testing. So this is something like when we add this rendezvous point, so every user will wait until this transaction is coming, and after that, every user will start to hit this transaction and it will proceed from there. So these are the very basic tools which we use while recording. So for now, I'll start with the very first transaction. So I've given one, and then I'm using the pet store application. Then the second transaction is going to be enter the store. And the third transaction is I'm going to sign into the application. And I have signed in. And then the fourth transaction, let me go to a page. Then the fifth transaction, I'm signing out. So this is a very basic transaction, which I normally do in my recording or in examples. So at the end, I'm going to stop. So once you stop your recording, you will start to get this screen where it will generate and it will see for any of the other pages that has got recorded during our recording. And it will also help us to correlate the values, and it will try to bring us what are the values that you used as part of the parameterization or as part of the correlation. So I'm clicking on next. So here, this will tell us that it is going to search for dynamic parameters. So this is something related to the correlation values which we have in load runner. So it will normally create a rules. It normally correlates on its own, right? So this is something similar to that. So I'm clicking on next. Another next. So now it searches for generic dynamic parameters. So in case if you have a very long script, like for at least like 10 to 12 transactions, and that might have a lot of values in it to correlate. So at that point of time, you'll get a lot of values, so where you can correlate. But for now here, in this scenario, since we did like only 5 transactions, and it will be like very less number of dynamic parameters. Click OK. And yeah, so there are no dynamic parameters here. Let me click next. So these are some of the values that we used during our script. So this is the action form where we enter our values. So let me click next, another next. So this is the username and password fields, and I'm using the same recorded account. I'll show you how to do the parameterization and everything later. And then let me click next. So choose the include exclusion, just excluding these. So since this was connected to my GitHub repo, it's asking for multiple options now. So now I have completed the script, and here you can see these are the steps which we have recorded. So this is the basic recording that we do. So Koti, you have any doubts so far?
Here there is it not required, right? Proxy settings.
Sorry, which one are you asking?
Suppose if you are recording using JMeter, on that time you need to set proxy settings, right?
Yeah.
So in Neoload it's not required.
Yes. So that's a good question. So here, if you go under license management, I mean, like you can open anywhere. So even you can go to share, you can find it. So go to edit, and here under preferences, here you can see the proxy. So by default, we will set the proxy, or else see here you can see in my machine. So it's not under any client uh, network. So I'm using no proxy. So in case if you want to add any proxy, you can very well add the proxy. So if you want, you can add your proxy here, like your company proxy, anything like it can be uh, like your net or something, and you can set up your address. Like whatever automation configuration script you want. So by default, what I would say is you do not want to do the uh, settings that you do for JMeter. So it's not required. You don't need to worry about any proxy setup or anything like that. So by default, you should get access to it, because even now, if you see here, I do not have any proxy, right? So this
Yes.
is something, yeah. So that JMeter is something, it's a very basic tool, and you will need to bring your browser and the JMeter to the same proxy network. Only then, so the process of doing that is JMeter acts as a proxy for your browser. Okay, and it will actually divert the traffic via JMeter to the browser. So that's the reason we make all those settings there. But in fact, in here or in load runner, we do not need that, because these actually internally have that capacity where they will automatically track their proxy part. So
Okay.
if you are inside your client network or wherever it's required, you can add that proxy. You can do is like you can go to your browser, whatever proxy you see there, you can see that automatically. You can manually set it, or if you want, you can use automatically configuration script, or even you can use the automatically detect settings. So whatever is in your browser in your inside your company, you can use that one. But if you're using in the home, you do not need any proxies.
One more doubt,
Hmm.
Shanmugam.
Yeah.
So, what is the main difference, load runner, JMeter, and Neoload?
Okay. So JMeter and load runner. So okay, JMeter and sorry, a load runner and Neoload are basically you have to pay for them for a higher license. But JMeter is an open source tool, so there is not much of a support when it comes to protocols or anything. One basic thing is, I would say, Neoload do not need many of your coding. Like most of them are, you can do that with your tools, and you have a lot of actions here. So you can see they have a lot of action. So when you want to do the same thing in your load runner, so you might at least need to bring in the functions, you have to write some code. But here in Neoload, I would say it's more comfortable when you are doing more in the JMeter, or when compared to load runner. So this is more comfortable when you are doing it, right? And most of them, like I would say, around like 10 to 5 to 10% of times only have you did the coding. Other than that, every time I use all these delays, or let me just, I don't know why I'm not able to close this. Okay. But most of the times I have never used the coding, because I use the looping in case if I want to loop, or in case if I want to do any conditions. So in that case scenario, so sometimes you will have to bring in some conditions. So at those scenarios, I will use if then else, or in some cases, if I want to switch any cases, I can use the switch action here, or else I can use try catch, I can use this go to next iteration. So 90% of times you do not need to write any code when compared to JMeter. But in JMeter also, you might, at some point of time, you might need to bring in some Groovy script, as we discussed earlier. So sometimes
Yes.
you must need to
Yes.
bring some Groovy script, or you will have to add some custom codes. Almost, I would say, like there are a lot of plugins that supports, but still you would really need to bring in. And the one more important thing I would say, this load runner and Neoload has SaaS support, which means when it comes to the load generator part, you do not need to worry about your load generation, because I would say the JMeter at least supports up to 500 1,000 maximum, or even if you are doing a
Yes.
distributed testing, you can support at least up to 1,000. But when it comes to Neoload SaaS or Load Runner SaaS web app, the application, so you have a lot of generators, load generators, which are distributed across all the locations. So you have the performance center for Load Runner, and you have Neoload web for Neoload. So they also supports a lot of load, where in case if you want to test at least 10,000 or even 5,000 users, you can even easily test it using Neoload and Load Runner. But that is not the case with JMeter, because so far there is no options for doing it in a SaaS format for JMeter. So that is another difference when it comes to Load Runner, Neoload, and JMeter.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. My side.
Yeah. Any other doubts with recording, Koti?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay,
It's
sure.
fine.
So what you can do is, like, if you haven't installed it yet, maybe you can try recording the basic Load Runner script. Not sure why it's locked or something. Okay, yeah. So you can try recording in your machine and let me know what are all the issues you faced. And next in our next video, I will show you how to do the parameterization, and we will discuss about correlation. And same time, I will try to do the recording videos for whatever. Hi, Koti. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I will try to record whatever videos that you ask me. So I will try to bring it. So these are the very basic scripts. So when you record your actions, so you will see these actions here. So this is a screen which you see we were recording. So you can see this recording, and even there are options to add assertions, like what we do for Load Runner. We can add assertions like this way. So any values which you want to see, which you want to add as an assertion, you can add those values. So we'll see that in a separate video, like how to do assertions for the
yeah,
script, and we will also see how to do API scripting using Neoload. And so basically, like when we do in Load Runner or Neoload, so we used to set up the methods, right? The get method and the post
yes,
method. So same way you can see. So if you see one particular script, so here you can see what type of request method does it get recorded and what method does it use. So here you can see it has the get method, and it has post methods. So in case if it is I can show you in this transaction where we supplied the username and password. So I think here, yeah. So this is actually a post method where, because we are supplying values to the database. So this is again a post method where we were entering the one username and password. And then we have the next transaction as, let me change it. So it's a get transaction. So this is how actually it works. So Neoload, I would say, when compared to Load Runner or JMeter, it's very easy for you to learn. And as I told you, so we have a lot of actions here. We can even connect it with databases. So you can establish a connection. You can, so here you can see, you can open a connection. You can run a SQL statement, and you can do a disconnection to the SQL. So these are, in fact, it adds a lot of advantage when you want to test. In fact, you can even do database testing when you want to do particularly for databases. So, Koti, I think we can set up another session next week, and
yeah, sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and we will
For
discuss
the
about
program.
how to do parameterization in our next session, Koti. Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah. See you next week. Bye, Mohammed. We'll catch up soon.
Sure.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
You'll share the link.
Yes, I'll do it.